current live stream on March 3rd. Yeah, there's a lot have been going on. Today I'm trying to initiate live trading. Big deal, obviously. And lots of things I got to talk about, different types of strategies that do well, current strategies, types of strategies, what's being traded since this attack on Iran as of Friday night, our time, and today's Tuesday following that. So let's get started. So everything's been tanking probably today and Monday quite a bit. Noticing that on all my reports. Hopefully you are watching all the reporting that I put up on my quantlabsnet.com website at the blog there. Put up some samples. This is in real time or close to real time. So what's been going on is with these strategies, I am running on Algorithmic with futures and options. And hello, and yeah, so that's been working. Been able to generate now and run these reports every day. Now I'm also be able to run in real time when I can generate up to 20 bots a day. And then I run them for, I don't know, 12 hours a day, whatever I want, and just see how they it's not really backtesting. The new term I'm calling it is new frontier algorithmic trading. There's no backtesting involved. Basically, what that means is I let these 10, 20 bots run in parallel with each other, see which ones perform really well. A lot of them don't perform well. I'd say if I'm lucky, 10% of them out of 20, let's say. And then I just keep them running until they stay profitable, start losing money. And then I just cut the losers off, and then I do the same thing, repeat it every day, really. And I've been doing that for a while. Lots of success there. So what are the profitable strategies doing well since this attack? Obviously gold, oil's doing very well. I'm seeing some crypto. There's been some natural gas, some very good strategies. If you want to know more, let me know. I could take questions, and we'll go from there. Hello, JDI. How are you? Okay, what am I starting capital? Right now, I'm at 1,500 US. So I'm going to run one contract, one instrument with the margin requirement and the minimal needed, and just see how it goes. And just so everybody knows, I had my portfolio managers here just left a few hours ago, and they say the same thing. Start small, and that's what I'm doing. Minimal risk. If I lose the 1,500, no big deal. I'm not going to cry. And then scale it up as it profits. I can scale up via the number of contracts I take on per trade, or scale up on the number of strategies, bots I run in parallel. So if you got any further questions, let me know. Right now, as I said, I'm trying to get the things running. And I'm not going to lie, it's not an easy thing to trigger. One of the reasons why I started this way is I'm able to see what trades the most as another factor, because last week I said it's very hard to trigger trades. So what I've done is I've been able to find those particular bot strategies that trade the most. And the one that has been doing very well since this attack on Iran is a combination arbitrage trade. It's, when you think about it, it's a classic trade. Short the ES, S&P 500, and long gold. Perfect arbitrage trade in that scenario. And another one that just got identified today, again, remember everything's news-based, because Qatar has cut off all natural gas supplies. They have, the thing came back and said, hey, start looking at this new symbol I never heard of. It's called a Japanese Korean mark, which is basically all the natural gas refiners for Japan and Korea combined as a symbol on the futures market. So you can trade that as well. Didn't know about it, but there you go. If it's sustainable, makes sense when you look at the fundamental supply. Hello, CNNS. Thank you for joining. So things are looking tough for a lot of people. But as I said, there are lots of good little opportunities out there. I'm very happy to be able to trade with this very short-term style based on short-term and news. It's very, very, very close to news-driven events. It's the best you can get, and it's options and futures. So there's that. So, as I said, we're here to answer your questions or comments. Let me know what you got, and I'll gladly answer them. Just let me know if you got questions. I'll say one major thing. I put out a report on Saturday, and basically it's doing really good on LinkedIn, and it's reaching high-end portfolio managers and whatnot. Head of BlackRock kind of looked at it, boom, boom, boom. Anyways, what the report is saying is I saw the new Claude Code desktop. I do think that that's going to be the new IDE if people want to stay on Claude. Outside of what may happen with DeepSeek 4, we're still waiting on that. And that's a complete self-contained IDE with the Claude work built in. I'm probably going to move towards that and just try to use as much Claude as possible, but more affordable Claude models, because Opus 4.6 is a lot of money. Or I might just go with the Claude Max Pro level. So that's what I'm looking at, and using that as the full-on autonomous. And everything I've talked about, with all the workflow I've talked about, collecting the data, running the news, doing the analysis, running these parallel bots in test mode, do it fully agentic, fully automated, and at the same time automatically push out the profitable bots to a production environment as well. So the big thing is I'm going to focus on building out the interactive brokers as my test account for all this stuff. With all these bots that I'm developing, 10 to 20 a day, the profitable ones will get automatically pushed into a rhythmic trading environment. So all the bot strategies that are profitable for the day will be automatically moved into the rhythmic, and then with the rhythmic, a bunch of other agents will run those bots live for live trading, and as long as they stay profitable, stay running. If they end up either topping out or not continuing to make profit, it'll just terminate those bots. And because I'm constantly feeding in new bots, all news driven again, and then just terminate the ones that are no longer making money or showing signs of topping out, and that's it. And then just terminate that bot and then bring in the new set that are profitable. That's basically what I'm looking at doing. I think from my perspective, that's the way to do it. Have I had a chance to play with OpenClaw, JDI? No, I don't think I'll play with OpenClaw due to the fact of people don't trust it. It does wonky things. It will go up against live money, obviously in a trading account on my Rhythmic, so I don't really trust it. People said, they wanted to delete particular emails and it ends up deleting all the emails. So anything that is risky, I wouldn't touch OpenClaw at all. I mean, I would use it for experimental or very low risk, no risk environment. But when it comes to money, I wouldn't trust it at all. I will say, as I said, I'm going to try to stick with the Claude Code desktop, and then waiting it's still out, with DeepSeek, see what they got, because from what I understand, DeepSeek is going to be very, very cheap, high performing, has a huge context, retains memory across an entire project. So I may use DeepSeek at some point for long term, depending upon how Claude Code works, because Claude generally AI is very expensive. And somebody on here that has already commented has gotten, get this, an entire Quen model loaded on their phone. That is like innovative. When I told my guys today, the portfolio managers, they were like, no, that's not possible. And I said, possible. And basically, they said, well, that take out all the market cap of all the data centers, and a lot of the value that comes out of USA AI is basically going to kill it. And yeah, it will. And maybe that's why Apple held off from running all this AI stuff, because if they did that on purpose, it's pretty smart for them just to push everything eventually on a phone or a device. Yes, and there's our contributor there. Thanks to him, and it works. Quen code 3.54B. Good job, Mr. CNN. Awesome job there. There was another question I missed. Let's see. Okay, SP5216. I'm being pushed more into automation and AI on my job. Any step by step to understand AI. Hang on here. And not getting replaced. Depends what you're doing. I do think a large percentage of jobs will be, I don't just say jobs, I say careers. I'm not saying that to scare people, but I do think that people will be replaced short-term, long-term. It's eventually, if you're working in an office and something where it's a repeatable skill set, I do think that, yeah, you got to be aware. You can't prevent that. Step by step is learn on your own. If you're going to start out, work with, I don't know, Quad Code is standard now. If you can't afford that, as I said, I got my link, specifically for trading, I have the product linked in the stream, and you could start with that with the interactive broker stuff for like $30 US. And you can learn from that to move into AI generated coding and whatnot with trading for $30 with the AI. And just so you know, Minimax with the Kilo has ended. Okay, that was free up until I think on Saturday or Sunday. But I do think the DeepSeek will be cheap enough once it comes out. That'll be the best replacement for people on a budget for that sort of thing. I wish I could give you better news, Mr. SP. Guys, got any questions or comments? Let me know. Everything's moving fast and furious. With these professional managers, I didn't want to say they could be replaced. I think if you're running a business in some sort of human-based business, you're in jeopardy because your competition will replace you eventually. Basically, I don't know what to say on that. I don't want to say that, but 30% of all hedge funds that I saw last week, 30% of all hedge fund trades are now driven not just by AI, but agents. 30%, and it's quickly growing, and it's eventually replacing a lot of just trading related anything. Any idea when the DeepSeek is out? It was supposed to be out March 4th and 5th. So in the next 24 hours, then I'm saying, it could be delayed till next week. So I really don't know. It was supposed to be out in the Chinese New Year or Lunar. We're still waiting. I don't know what the holdup is. I do know from what I last gather, DeepSeek gave access to all the hardware chip makers in China and only China to verify everything works. So that's been passed now. And I don't know when it comes out. I really don't. But that will be the future of everything. It's going to change everything, I think. Giuseppe Camoli, thanks for coming aboard. For those who wish to become a programmer, any advice? Well, the whole definition of programming is going to radically change. As I said, if it's not going to be Quad Code that will be at the top of the food chain in this whole IT world, it'll be something. It'll be maybe Microsoft will run it, maybe Google, like with the anti-gravity. I don't know. But the standard will be something like that. And all you're going to be doing is managing agents. You could code up your agents. You can control your own MCP servers. The whole ecosystem will do probably the equivalent of 50 people or 100 people. And all they're doing is just running agents in parallel. That's what the new future of IT and programming will be. That's going to be in the short term. So in my case, I'll be doing the whole thing, running the whole trading operation of agents using Quad Code Desktop. So I could say that. Do you think AI will affect the ETF? Absolutely, 100%. It'll affect anything in trading. JDI, without a doubt. Everything's going to be 100% AI driven. So eventually, over time, there'll be less human traders. It'll be just either what they call systematic. No problem, Giuseppe. It will be eventually what they call systematic portfolio managers. Will be the ones left in the space of a lot of big firms. So if you're a portfolio manager, that's great. If you have the systematic knowledge, you're pretty well safe. But that's all I'm seeing. Like quite a few jobs I've seen called systematic portfolio managers. And all they're doing is they are very ingrained with trading, knowing how to run a portfolio, and there's now going to be the research done, automatic back testing. All the bots that are running the code for the strategies bots will be all done through agents. I don't know how much can be run via call it systematic portfolio manager, but I do think that will be the eventual long-term definition. If you guys got any other questions, let me know. I'm glad to answer whatever you got. I've come up with my own term today. What I'm calling, there's algorithmic trading. I think that's now done. What I'm calling is the new frontier algorithmic trading. So basically what that means is you will have your bots running, you will have your bots in test, which ones will be profitable. As I said, you'll move them into an environment of production or live trading, and that's all you're doing. You're just running bots. There's no need for back testing because you're going to run a bunch of bots or strategies in parallel in a test environment. It'll automatically, as I said, will move those bots into a trading environment, and it can be run pretty well 24/7. And it's frontier. I mean, that's what it's called. I've run a survey on it. Everybody's still doing their back testing, and I'm going to tell you something very, very, very ideal. If you're doing everything through manual back testing, trading as a manual trader, it's going to be people running on this, what I call frontier, bot-driven, AI-driven, agentic-driven for trading. They're going to be the ones that will be kind of leading the markets, I think. Because they'll be doing it efficiently, they'll be able to do it in near real time, and they'll be able to respond to market events as well. So that, in a nutshell, is that what I call frontier algorithmic trading is the term I'm coming up with for it. Actually, the AI called it that, but I'm comfortable with that because it's like frontier ETFs. Like frontier is like when you're looking at places like not Malaysia, Mongolia. Unheard of like markets that is kind of risky, but it's a frontier market. Frontier algorithmic trading is the same. But eventually, maybe it might it may go mainstream. I don't know, but I'm comfortable with that term. If you guys got questions or comments, let me know. I appreciate everyone being here. We got Giuseppe, JDI. Who else we got? We got Mr. CNN, SP, so far. So, everything's going to, as typical AI, everything's just moving so fast. It's hard to keep up. But as I said earlier, once I set up everything with the interactive brokers test environment, using Claude desktop and or maybe, I don't know, long-term DeepSeek, I don't know. But I think once I get all that in place, that's the end of that. It's just a matter of adjusting to what model I use, basically. It's a set. And the other thing, when it comes to programming, I think I haven't really looked at code a whole lot as deep as I should, because I don't need to, because Claude and certain advanced AI will run and create code or generate code for you that's pretty well flawless on runtime. And that's why you run it through a test environment to see if it performs. So there's that. JDI, how long do you recommend paper trading until running live? It depends, Mr. J. That's a very good question, as I said, because if you read what the AI spat back to me, this style of trading that I'm coming up with is very aggressive. So if you're willing to stay aggressive, you could have your bots run, because it's news driven, you can have them run as short as maybe a day and a half of trading, as short as that. You can even have as short as 3 hours. Just depends upon the performance. If it's performing really well, where it's making a lot of trades, has a high win ratio, a very decent Sharpe ratio, then just put it in a live and just run it. So that's the plan. So it just depends upon if you see something that's doing really, really good, chances are it'll do really, really well in live, because I'm running it in simulated mode. And then once I see something, I'll just push it into the live trading mode. So if that makes sense. What software do you run for test environments? Any open source versions? My stance on that, SP, is a very simple one. Everybody's telling me this framework, this book, this video course, blah, 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 blah. My answer is always, let the AI generate it for you, because it's so good and so advanced. And now it's safe to say pretty reliable, just depending upon how you prompt it. If that's the case, you can let AI generate it in whatever language you want. In my case, I'd say 100% everything I'm running is in Python right now. And it's AI generated, 100%. So that's kind of what I'm running. Just let the AI generate everything for me. So there's nothing mysterious about that answer, I guess. GDI, notice that I can give Claude the same prompt and data and end up without developing very different strategies. Yes, and you'll get different output as well. That's the problem. That's why you need to test it. But a lot of people get, as we know, is caught up in analysis by paralysis. In this market with volatility, especially in an extreme market after this war thing going on, trading opportunities do not last very long. I have not really seen steady long-term trends over the last week. There's spurts of opportunities, and then they come and go. And they may not come back. Look at gold is a great example. Bitcoin, I get lots of false positives on it's going to break out. And I wait, and it just doesn't perform. So that's another example. Same with Ethereum. The only one that's kind of consistent is oil. But it's able to generate different types of oil strategies. So you can get different oil strategies, and each one will perform differently against another oil strategy. So there's that in mind as well. And then there's the same thing with natural gas as well. So that's what I've been experiencing over the last week. And I think that is going to continue down the line, if that makes sense. Another good example I can give you is what they call now, I'm hearing on mainstream media, called the Treasury Steepener. I've been seeing that for a long time, but the steepener's good if you want a steady eddy little profit here and there long term. But there's always something that will outperform, if it's gold or if it's oil, sometimes natural gas. Those are the hot ones right now. And as I said, Bitcoin can somewhat perform, but it never breaks out for very long, if that makes sense. It should make sense. Yeah, and every time you generate a strategy, or in the prompt, you'll get a very different output. Same with across different models as well. So if you want the best quality of output, I would only recommend Claude most advanced strategies, because you'll see it in the code and you'll get better responses with the code. Whereas if you're going with the free or more affordable models, you won't get the same quality of code. Same with the reports and all that. So you kind of want to stay on top of the more advanced models. Wonder how it would predict future RAM prices. I'm sure it could do that, but the way I look at it, SP, it's an interesting concept, but to be honest, I just get better data with options and futures, because everyone's going to be mostly focused on the spot market, whereas in the futures and options market, I get a lot more data to work with, specifically measuring implied volatility or measuring open interest. Those are very, very good forward-looking indicators you won't get anywhere else. So if you're focused on the spot market, you don't have indicators like that. Everything else is kind of like next to guessing, which you don't want, because then you have a higher probability of losing, which obviously you don't want. But the hardware, it's very interesting, but I think for me, I'd rather be in the cloud because everything's changing so quickly. And I find it's cheaper to be operating in the cloud versus if you're going to run it locally. If you're just playing around and find blah blah blah, that makes sense. But if you're trying to build something serious, I think you have to stay in the cloud. That's the other good thing is that if future updates in the hardware, future updates in memory cost, blah 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 blah, it really won't affect you as much because all you have to do is just turn off one cloud environment and spin up a new one and move the code over very quickly, depending upon your cloud environment. From what I'm experiencing, because I will have to, I'm going to be moving into a cloud environment as well, which will be Windows Server 2025, I believe. So that will be next few steps down the line, because I will want to move into the cloud because how I'm doing it, it's very intensive. And I don't know. Yeah, everything's going to have to go into the cloud for sure. Do you find any issues with hallucinating when giving it too much data? That's the trick there. I just learned is you don't give it, if you're talking about user data or log information or a CSV, you don't want to put that in the prompt anymore because it takes up extra CPU utilization, which means you're paying a lot more for your AI cost. So what you should do now is instead just try to make your application generic and then have the user supply the data. Okay, that's what I did with this new thing I generated where I can measure real-time data against all the bot performance and figure out what bots are performing the best. And that can be done pretty close in real time because I'm having the app ask for user supplied data. Now, if I put that in the prompt, it's not going to generate, unfortunately. And it's a waste of CPU utilization. So JDI, what time frame data do you use for backtesting Leah? As I said, I don't really use backtesting in the last month. What I'm doing is in the bots, in the trading bots, I am actually doing a heartbeat every 5 seconds. So the heartbeat will go out every 5 seconds. And what people need to understand is we're no longer working with historical data. We're working with stream data. So it's more like a filter within the strategy itself. It's all built around targets. So if a certain metric hits in the stream data, it will do an entry. And same with the exit as well. So it's all built around targets, not some generic algorithm. That's the thing that people need to kind of like move their mindset from, because everything I'm now using is just, as I said, it's a filter, and then there's targets for the entry and exit, because that's the same thing that how high frequency trading is built. So it streams every 5 seconds, and it just streams the data, looks at a certain row of data, and then if that data or data set internally within the bot hits a metric, then it will do an entry or an exit or other external measurements as well. That makes sense. So Thomas Anderson, welcome. I can't turn on the subtitles. I don't know if I have them enabled, so I'm not sure on that. GDI, can you explain a bit more about how you supply the data to the bot? Again, it's a different concept. I am streaming data into the bots themselves. If it's testing or testing or live, because I'm streaming data into these bots. I don't work with historical data anymore. If I'm going to assess a bot and the potential of a bot, then I'll use historical data. But 99% of the time, it's just going to be streamed data. And then as part of my prompt, I'll have the measurement can be measured by just asking for an automated simulated set of data. It's pretty good at it. So that's how I do it. So I'm not really spending any time at all in the classic sense of backtesting. It's all simulation, or it's just real-time processing via streaming. If that makes sense. Okay, no problem, JD, because that's how it's done in high-frequency trading, right? They don't when they go out on direct market access, they're not sitting there downloading, a year's worth of data, process them, and figure out a trade, and then wait a while, and then download a new historical data set. They don't do that. Everything's streamed into an algorithm. I mean, that's how FPGA works as well. Like it streams data, internally keeps a certain amount of data, calculates the data, and then it figures out based upon the algorithm, the rules of the data that's processed via the FPGA, and then it'll trigger either the entry or the exit. So it's a different level of processing, not really data, but stream data is what I would call it. If you guys got questions or comments, let me know. You can tell I'm probably all revved up here. Half an hour, this is awesome. I can talk about anything. Does the bot stream the data 24/7? Yes, as long as the exchange is open. So let's say if it's a CME, it's going to be not operating it'll open up Sunday night, and Monday through Friday it will not be open 5 to 6 Chicago time. Other than that, it's operational. So those bots will continue running. And if there's no data that comes in, there's no data. So it's not really affected by that. It only works when data is being streamed into them. So hopefully that'll help out. But if I was to go crypto, yeah, I could do it 24/7, the same concept, or I could do the same thing if I choose to go stock or ETF on, let's say, Interactive Brokers. So yeah, you can do it. And as I said, if the exchange closes, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to just not work or operate until the new data set starts to continue at, let's say, 6 p.m. Monday to Friday. That should make sense, hopefully. Thomas asks, do you think a bot calculates the strength of gold versus the strength of DXY? Would be interesting for trading gold. Yeah, that's my first strategy I'm running right now, is using what we call a gold safe haven trade. Trading micro gold. So that's what I'm kind of doing, but it's not really comparing anything. I could at the same time stream both micro gold and the DXY, the dollar index, into it and do all the standard algorithmic processing to do that for that particular bot. So yeah, that can be done. And as I said, that's all rule based upon what I put in the so-called algorithm. So you could do that for sure. But what I'm trying to tell people is you want to get out of that mindset of being hobbled with data sets, historical data sets, and just because I've got people that are working on like strategies for years and they don't move forward on anything because they're just caught up in historical data and does this, doesn't do that. You gotta get more focused on streaming data. That's the big takeaway I guess you can get out of all this. Because once you get past that, then life gets easier. And if you have to simulate the data, you can do that as well, and simulate the stream as well. So if you guys got questions or comments, let me know. Yeah, so the other big thing I guess I could say is because I'm using Interactive Brokers as my testing environment, what can happen is I'm thinking of, if there's like 520 strategies coming out of that a day, or bots, I can post them on my hftcode.com store and make a subscription model out of that, or that people subscribe every month for those models, test them out. And I don't know, I'm just thinking about different options here to monetize this. Because the thing that I got linked in now with the Interactive Brokers, that little blueprint thing, that is ready to go right now, and it's using simplified AI right within VS Code. I do believe it could be it can be transportable into Claude Code. My report that I generated last Saturday gives you instructions on how to move all of that stuff into Claude Code. So it definitely can be done. Just got to actually do it and then be able to confidently say, yeah, this is how you work it, blah, 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 blah. You guys got any other questions or comments? Let me know. Our last stream was like just over an hour. So I'm very dependent upon to keep this stream going, that you guys participate. You guys have been pretty good so far. I appreciate you being here. So if you guys got comments, questions at all. One thing before the next question comes up or comment, a lot of people are really skeptical on this stuff. And that's okay. It doesn't bother me. I'm now classifying those people, as you know, as horse and buggy people. Because, as I said, where we're at over the last 120 years, out of all the inventions in the world, I always come back to the Model T because that's where we're at. It's so radical. There's a shift into AI, and now where trading and algo trading and all that is going into AI and utilizing AI to leverage what's available. There's still going to be those laggards, those lemmings that will be, it doesn't work, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's okay, but you'll just eventually get displaced over the long run. What common patterns have you seen in successful algos? That's from Frere. Yeah, thanks for asking that. That's a good question. It depends on the market regime. Right now, the market regime's obviously shifted since the Iran attack. The types of strategies I'm seeing are momentum-based, directional, mostly oil. Everything else is kind of predicting it's going to break out or be directional or momentum-based, and it never happens. So the only one that's sustainable over more than a couple of days is oil for that. As I mentioned last week, there was a very, very nice strategy that was kind of mean reverting. And I think what is important, because mean reverting is not working as well, because I'm finding with the mean reverting, the volatility is really, really killing off that traditional way of trading off of mean reversion. So in order to make it more predictable, you have to remove as many exogenous dependencies as possible, meaning, as an example, if you have currencies you're going to try to trade or something else, like Bitcoin as another example, there's always going to be an event that will happen that will affect the price direction of, let's say, Bitcoin. So the more you remove from that, the better. So as I said, with the strategy that I love to be able to trade is the arbitrage between USDC, which is Circle stablecoin, and Tether. That removes all of the dependencies at all. So that kind of mean reverting works well, like really well. It's still my number one strategy that I've seen that works well. So that's the two big patterns to take away is if you can remove volatility, go back to the way it was. And the other thing is you want to have as few dependencies as possible, that where it's exogenous, external, an event that will affect the price direction. And a lot of the assets right now are being affected by what's going on in the market because of the unpredictable things that are happening in the economy and this war thing. So that's the problem. So the more you can get rid of that, the better. But there's very, very few patterns you can use to get where you want to have that consistent profit, if that makes sense. So SPS, the power of AI is not looking good for us. We stopped all new hiring and filling the gaps with AI. I think a lot of specialists will need AI dev and deployment skills to stay afloat. I agree. Let me know, SP, what kind of company you're working at. If it's IT related, yes. I mean, everything's going to be affected, but where you're sustainable in a job or a career, you're going to have to know how to manage agents. And where to do that is with something very stellar like the new Claude Code Desktop. Because in the Claude Code Desktop, it also includes skills, this new thing, and you have to know everything about MCP server. Once you start learning things like that, then you become more sustainable long term to be able to come more into a manager and being able to manage agents. And once you get really good at that, I'm not saying you're going to be safe, but you're probably going to do better long term than anyone else. And that's in any kind of, call it white collar job. That's the best thing I can recommend, unfortunately. But let me know what kind of company you're in or industry, and I can probably get a better answer for you. So Thomas Anderson asks, I have a lot of difficulty understanding English. I live in the DR. It would be great if subtitles could be enabled. I don't know. I'm going through the YouTube app, and the translation, I don't see any options for it at all from the streaming side in the app. So apologies there, but I have been looking for, unless somebody knows on how to do that within the streaming from within the YouTube app, I gladly enable it. But again, if you have a problems, you can always watch the replay, and then you get the translation there. Or on the next stream, queue up your questions and just have them already translated in English. That'd probably be easier. Yes, so there you go. CNS, and he knows his stuff. The subtitles are done after the posting the video, as I said. Yeah, I don't know if they can do that real time yet in streaming. Maybe, apparently some streamers have access to that, because you have to understand, with bigger streamers, they get access, and I can verify this because I'm in boot camps of YouTube. It's verified that there's very advanced features that a lot of the bigger streamers get and bigger channels get, so they'll get access to those features. And also depends upon, I'm in Canada, so I may not get those features because I'm in the US. So if you see it, doesn't mean I get it where I'm located, or I'm not big enough. So it's one or the other. Or, yeah, unfortunately I have to watch the after the video's been rendered and watch it in the video playback. Ooh. So if you guys got questions or answers, let me know. I'm here, revved up, blah, blah, blah. I go 4 or 5 hours if you want. This is cool. Again, in the meantime, I could go more and more on about this. I'm getting more confident with more of the strategy development, but I'm less and less doing things in the classic way that we know, and just put a heavy reliance on AI. And the reason is because I enable AI to do a lot more things, and soon I'll be able to do it more in parallel, which means I can scale up faster and respond to things faster and in shorter periods of time. So SP says, global IT engineering company. We run data centers and internet backbone. Okay, that's good. I'm not sure if you're one of those Indian service companies like Total Consultancy or Wipro. Yeah, I do think those jobs are in jeopardy for sure. If it's basically as DevOps, so easily those things can be automated or agentified. The best suggestion I can give you is make sure, as I said, you learn those skills and show your value in it. What's an American company? Well, I would say it's eventually going to be either Indian-based or Chinese-based eventually. Maybe it's Amazon, I don't know, or Microsoft, the Azure, one of the cloud big operators. But it doesn't matter. It's the same answer, because I think a lot of those career paths are going to get taken over unless they figure out, well, we can get you to do more and running just basically agents, and set up agents and know how to all those technical things I was mentioning about when it comes to MCP skills. The best thing I can recommend is there's Andrew Ng. He was a guy who, Andrew Ng, really. He came out with a classic machine learning course. He's from Singapore. Now he's teaching at Harvard. He came out with a new course a few weeks ago. It's free. And it has all that modern stuff on agents and how to run them. Know those back and forth. And it's a free course. It won't take very long to learn that course. I think you probably do it maybe in a whole day. And it focuses on Claude as well. It's a very good course. But what I say now is, with the Claude Code Desktop, there's videos now, and how Anthropic's made how to use Claude Code Desktop. You may be able to learn it on the fly. So that is quite possible. And then being able to go through the the skills, and because those marketplaces for the skills are blowing up everywhere. Plus the MCP as well. No, Andrew NG. Andrew NG from Singapore. That's his last name, NG. Andrew Ning. Andrew NG. Really good course. It's free. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just look for. It's a second course. I mean, if you want to learn the deep learning, which is the core, no problem, Ofer. If you want to know the underlying of machine learning, he has a very sophisticated course. His first course. on deep learning. And it goes through how to build out an LLM and the whole concept of it. I will not have time to go through that. I'd like to go through that down the line when I have more time. We'll see if I can do it. I'd like to do that just for self-learning. So, Thomas Anderson, in previous videos, I found it very interesting when they presented the SPD data. You said it's all noise. Well, yes, it is noise, but that's the whole point. There's a couple of points to take away from that. Volatility is very extreme now. And that in itself is noise. You have to know how to decipher the signal from that noise. That's the hard part. But the best way to do it, especially in trading, is to build it based upon news. Because news now is a short-term response, but with news, there's going to be enough volume to drive the price, usually, in your case, most times up. And it's going to be very short-term opportunity. It could be a day, it could be a couple hours, maybe a week, if that. So if you focus your analysis on news-driven events, and then get to a point to use a generic way to develop strategies from that, what I'm doing now, and it is working, and then be able to generate as many strategies as possible a day. And then where the key is, as I said, not to focus on the back testing so much, but have the AI be able to generate a bot strategy for you, and you could do it within a couple of minutes, especially with that little product I've got linked at the bottom of the stream, right? You can do that within a minute, 2 minutes, depending upon your model and all that, and you let the thing run once you build it, and just let it run up to, let's say, 12 hours, and it could be on any asset specifically in the futures and options market. An SP 500 is just one of 30 instruments you can choose, and then you'll be able to quickly see the responses on the bots. And usually, within the first couple hours, if you see the profit there, it's performing well. But don't ask yourself. Just put it into a live trading mode, and that's where I'm at now, trying to get that to run. And you can just get the AI and you prompt the AI to modify what you want out of that little code that is really the bot. And that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been testing up until this point, and it works. I can simulate really strong looking bots, specifically for specific strategy based upon a certain news scenario, and it works. If that makes sense. SPS, would these bots run with human oversight, or would you have a master slave model that manages multiple smaller bots? Yeah, you can do both. Just depends how you want to customize it. I would ultimately, once you get comfortable, because it's all about a workflow, it's about a process. Once you get comfortable with the process I'm speaking about generally, and you get to a point where you can run a series of bots, and you're very comfortable where you know certain subset of bots, as I said earlier, usually 10% of them can profit, then you can have that whole process automated. You can have the whole process automated and just push it into a live trading environment, and you can let them run. And then on top of that, you can have the risk management automated as well. And then what I'm going to do eventually is I'm going to build some kind of dashboard that'll run on a phone or a tablet, and just be able to see the general performance of these things, and then turn on and off certain bots, or disable them, or just have an ultimate kill switch because of the performance. So you can have all of these developed. Just depends upon what you want. Obviously, most people want everything above what I just mentioned. So that's the ultimate dream. This is getting to that point where you're fully automated. The bots self-adapt, and basically you have a machine that just self-adapts to the market. And there's other ways to do that. I won't get into that in the technical, but you could kind of do that with AI for sure, because you're streaming data, and you can have bots or strategies, whatever you want to call them, that will adjust to the market data, and then adjust based upon what the stream of data is seeing. Because as I said earlier, you don't want to use and focus so much on historical data anymore because the volatility is so extreme. And usually, and I'm sure most traders will know this, is that if you look at a day's worth of the markets, generally it's going to be some extreme positive news that will push that price up, up a lot. Usually it could be things like earning calls. It could be Fed news. It could be a whole slew of things that can drive that. Those are the kind of news events I'm talking about. It could be, in this case, with the war with Iran, it can be news related around, Qatar is now no longer producing natural gas. That's a huge event. Or something related to that. And that will have a shock in the news, and you can build a bot around that and anticipate that event. That's the whole idea of this. And that's what I'm building out from what I'm seeing generally. If you want to make really top profit, that's the way to trade, I think. Where it's news driven and it's more focusing on anticipating shock events. If that makes sense. If you guys got questions or comments, let me know. A really classic example just from today alone. Okay, so let's say I mentioned Qatar is no longer producing natural gas. Well, the world still needs natural gas. So there was a news event today, and anticipate that there is an instrument in the futures and option market you could trade called Japan Korean Mark. Okay, that's on the ICE. And you can build a bot around that and run that. And nobody will know about that in the mainstream. But my whole process picked that up, and that's a kind of unknown event. And when you think about it, that would make sense because the world still needs natural gas, so they'll find new ways and new areas in the world to figure out where all those producers are. And this thing picked up, as I said, Japan and Korea to do that. So you can now build a whole strategy around that little news event. That may be short term. That may be, as I would call a steady eddy, but profitable. Take it. And it's just one other way to kind of like use as I said, a steady eddy, but profitable strategy over the long run, if that makes sense. But those are the sort of things you may want to look for. But using this process, that's what I'm finding. Do you have to train it to pick it up, or was it the AI? It was the AI. Because like I said, I'm using over 30 news feeds across the board. It's mainstream, popular, like Elite Trader, forums, specifically for the futures market. So there's lots of news in the mainstream, but the nice thing is with the groups, there's a lot of chatter. So the AI will pick up on that. And then you feed all this to whatever AI, and then the AI will come back and say, okay, I'll project it. Here's a historical, boom, boom, boom. And then it ranks as one of the strategies that it recommends for that day. How are you pulling the news? Constant scraping or APIs? APIs. Standard RSS news feeds. Simple. That's it. It's not difficult. Just finding the right news feeds. Great knowledge, by the way. No problem, SP. That's what I'm here for. Yeah, so you want to use a standard news feed. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to do crazy scraping. There's lots of services out there where you can pick up news feeds, and then they're public. They are public. You just got to know about them. No, actually, they're paid. You want to go with the paid ones. Don't go with the free ones at all. Because, as I say, you get what you pay for. You get specifically what you don't pay for. And you can see that in the AI models as well. But it's not expensive at all. That's a guarantee. The expensive part's the data. As my portfolio guy says, the data. And more specifically, everything you want to do when it comes to strategies and strategy development, everything's got to be data-led, news-driven, AI-driven, not what happened yesterday, 2 days ago, because that can be, not saying it is, but it can be irrelevant unless you find a nice little unknown trend. You know what I mean? So there's lots of things, and a lot of these strategies come up like these little gems. The one I mentioned is just one example from today. Last week it was that stablecoin arbitrage. It was very nice, and that will be As long as they have stable coins, that will be a nice classic strategy to have. Thomas asks, I've been able to grow accounts from $100 to $34,000. My man, that's great. Congrats on that. Simply by comparing the strength of gold to the strength of DXY. Do you think this is possible with a real account? Absolutely. I would think the classic arbitrage is exactly that, gold and DXY, because they're classic indirect relationship. And that's been consistent since the dawn of time. Whereas I said, oh, Bitcoin indirect relationship with NASDAQ and blah, 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 blah. Those break down. But the ones that have not broken down is exactly what you just came up with. DXY, which is, for people that don't know, is basically the US dollar in the futures market. It's a US dollar index and gold price. Those are classic. Yeah, for sure. If you can automate that, it's like a classic moving average cross that consistently works. Definitely go for it. SP, because everything is data driven, I'm guessing using RAG to prevent hallucination from historic. Oh, I forgot to mention about hallucination. My apologies on that. When you use the more expensive, advanced, newer models like Claude, the 4.6 level or 4.5, I don't see hallucination. It's not a thing anymore at all. I'm not seeing it. You might see in my content that I put on a website, you'll see hallucination, but generally I'm not seeing any hallucination at all. Not even in the cheaper, more affordable Chinese AI. It's becoming rarer and rarer, and specifically you want to avoid 100% hallucination. It was a very bad problem. I haven't seen it in a good couple of months, namely on the newer codecs from OpenAI for code generation, along with Claude, Anthropic, and it has nothing to do with RAG. RAG can help, but just from a raw prompt, getting back an output or response, I'm not seeing so much hallucination. It really comes down to how you prompt the AI. Okay, if you're not comfortable in prompting, a good tip I can give you, as I said, in the little interactive brokers thing I have LinkedIn as a product, part of that is using an AI extension in VS Code called Kilo. And it has a little feature in there where you can push a little button, you put your prompt in, push the button, and it'll radically improve your prompt. Because they used to say, oh, prompt engineering will be a career. Well, no, it won't, because we have this feature now where the AI can improve the prompt for you. So, that's a good tip, and I wouldn't be surprised there'll be other AI that can do that. And the better you improve your prompting, the less hallucination, or safe to say you'll see less hallucinating. But it was a very big problem like 3-4 months ago, badly. But when it comes to the vibe coding, code generation, not so much. And even if that's the case, it's part of the process of why, if it comes down to algo trading, you want to run as many strategies as possible, or bots in parallel, in real time using real market data. And then, as I said, maybe only 10% of them may be profitable, and just dispose of the rest and just hang on to the profitable ones. As I said, you can do that every day as well, which is really good. And if you get really advanced and you can afford it with the AI budget, you could do it multiple times a day, multiple times over a 24-hour period, 5 days a week. If you're doing crypto on Binance, you can do it 24/7, blah, 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 blah. RAG is very good, where you can prompt within the code and use RAG to put the query out and then come back with a response. That's a possibility. Obviously, you can use MCP in a kind of similar way. Yeah, but again, it depends upon how you develop your trading bots as well. That's what matters. I don't use RAGs much. I think quickly that's becoming kind of not obsolete, but it's not as becoming as important as, let's say, the MCP servers are. But let alone, I think the MCP servers could disappear over a long run as well because of agents. Agents is the key now, and agents is the hot thing, and I think they'll be around for quite the while. And as I said, with the new skills coming in, that's going to change everything, because it just comes down to download the skills part of your AI. I still don't really quite understand it, but I do think that's the way now, because there's so many MCP and agents and blah, blah, blah coming down the pipes. But it could change again in the next couple of weeks if DeepSeek comes out with something brand new. So I don't know. Everything's changing so fast. It's hard to keep up. But I think the key is that they're able to prompt and keep as pure AI as possible in your prompting, and use less dependencies like RAG or MCP servers, the better you'll be over the long run. Because everything does come down to the prompting. And then you just figure out your work process. But like I said, with what I've got, seems to work the best. Not because I put it together, but just all the things that I've come across, it seems to be the most logical to work with. If you guys got questions or comments, let me know. Yeah, this is great. I appreciate you being here. There is no shame in whatever you come up with. I do get the occasional really smarty alecky responses. You know, people argue, oh, AI don't work, AI is no good. It's like they don't know what they're working with. Coming back to what I was saying about what happens if you're unemployed. Now, I hate saying this. I hate to be a double downer here, or Debbie Downer, but everyone's going, I'm going to lose my job. Well, I think it's going to be more than that. It's going to be losing your career. There's two things when it comes to long-term revenue for yourself. Is going to be A, self-employment. I don't know, could be entrepreneurship using, I don't know, e-commerce as an example. Trading, I think, is a very viable option. And I think if you know how to do it properly and you just keep hacking away at it over the long run, eventually it can work for you. And especially now with the way everything's going. It's pretty scary, in fact. Do you use level 2 data with your bots? Yes. You can do options, chain, multiple option chains. So I go beyond level 2. And in fact, Nuvi, welcome. You can go deeper in that with option chain. So whatever is available on Rhythmic, yes, you can go, as far as I know, you can go up to level 9 if you get direct market access. So it can get pretty crazy. But let me explain what's going on just generally in the economy. I'm in Canada. I think Canada, another question. I'm looking into self-employment, helping smaller businesses with local element deployment and integration. Yeah, I would recommend that's a great option. As long as you stay on top of the AI trends, you'll do quite well. In fact, I think for sure over the long run and stay ahead of the competition. But the new competition, unfortunately, is going to be the agents. But as long as you know how to manage the agents, you'll be fine. Where do you get your option data from? Is Data Bento good enough? It depends. Data Bento historically is very good, but very expensive. I'm on a variety of so-called trader WhatsApp groups. Everyone's going on about Data Bento. I keep it to myself, but the real, I'll call it secret sauce is you can get all the data from your futures broker. So if you go with a legit futures broker, option broker, they're usually going to use either CQG or Rhythmic for your data. Once you get aboard, in my case, I'm spending 140 US through Rhythmic with the API and data feed. 140 per month, which is very, 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 very cheap. That's the option I'd go with, and use pretty well Rhythmic, because Rhythmic's much cheaper than CQG. My broker tells me, and I'm with EdgeClear, they tell me if I use CQG, it'll be 500 a month. I'm only paying 140 US. So that's the best one I'd look at, because you get real time and all the historical data you want. SP, I remember making lots of profit on flipping penny stocks. Can still be kind of done, but I don't know. Especially the pharma ones just before they got FDA approval. wondering if that's another path to venture down. Yes, but as I said, the reason I use, because of what I use when it comes to futures and options, data is everything. And forward-looking data is what you really, really want. And you can really only get that with futures and options. As I said earlier, you have things like open interest to measure volume. And if you need to calculate implied volatility, you can calculate that too. You will not get that in the spot market, including stock as well. So that's why I say options is really good to be part of. And usually if you're doing it for a career, I'd say 80%, 90% of the big firms are futures and or options. So it's good to have that skill to trade in futures and options. So a fair has Rhythmic for futures. You can do options as well as you know a fair. Let me know what you think of Rhythmic. Okay, what quant groups I'm in. I'm going to be honest with you. As I said, I'm part of WhatsApp. I'm on Substack. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm going to be honest with the groups it's all newbies. And there's very few experienced real quants on these groups. They are private. And what kills it is the newbies because they come back, like, they ask the same stuff. That's why I always like the Stack Overflow nonsense. You can't answer a question before you do your research. Because of that, it kills the quality of the whole buzz of these groups. So even if I was to tell you the groups, I think you're not going to get a whole lot out of it. What I will recommend, if you want to really know real world quants, even quant wannabes, I would definitely go either or both. That I'm finding the best sources for knowledge is Substack. Like, Substack's amazing. You got Michael Burry in there, the short Kingmaker short. He's on there, and he's only on Substack. And LinkedIn's the other one as well. There's some good groups on LinkedIn, but just load up your Substack and have all your followers on the different Substack. There's some incredible traders that are very transparent in what they're putting out there, namely in quant as well. Yeah, Substack's a good place to go. I think Substack's better than any group I've been part of, invited or not. How are you keeping on top of the AI trends? Too much hype and noise everywhere. Very good question, SB. What I do is basically as simple as this. If you use the Google app, not the news app, the Google General app, there's a news section on there. What I've done is I pruned out all of the websites that ask for your registration. It could take a couple of months. And then you are able to, or Google gets to know your trends and what you're interested in, namely, let's say AI. You can basically use those sources every day that I consume. And over time, it knows that you're interested in AI and just general AI providers or what's happening in the general trends. That app can give that to you. People use MSN News, but I just find Google's the best quality for that. So that's kind of how I keep on top of that. Any Substack recommendation? That's hard to say. A good way to start is just go into Substack and look up quant trading or specific searches. So let's say if you wanted to go futures and options, that's specific. You can go right down to, let's say, commodities, crypto. So it just depends upon what you're searching. And then what will happen, which is really, really powerful with Substack, it will have this auto discovery, will recommend other accounts for you. And just subscribe to everything. That's what I do. And it works great. And you look at your Substack and you go, wow, there's some intelligent people. And the thing is, what I like about Substack compared to X, which is now so not dependable and not trustworthy for anything, and even LinkedIn's kind of not that great, Substack has the most intelligent people on any platform I've used. So if you want to speak to more higher brow people, Substack's definitely the place to go. And you don't need to be part of a group or anything. You just follow people. And if you really want to live dangerously, push your own content. It's free. And then you may start to get followers. And it's shocking how unique and amazing Substack is. So, and it's free. It doesn't cost you. And that's where a lot of the higher brow people are, because that's what you want, I would think, to advance and learn quickly. And if any social media platform I can recommend, yeah, I mean, LinkedIn's pretty good, but Substack's very good. One thing I like about LinkedIn is because I get to see people that reach out or follow. I can see their position and company that they're at. That's what I like about LinkedIn. So there's that. So Nuvi asks, any update in the Vultr FPGA-like cloud service? Very good question. I don't know if you saw the news with Meta. Meta or Zuckerberg bought, I don't know if it's a controlling interest into AMD to secure his hardware options for Meta. I don't know how that'll have an impact on a cloud server provider like Vultr. I do know that AMD is a lead sponsor for all their hardware on a Vultr. I don't think it'll have an impact. I have looked into Vultr. That's the cloud provider I'm looking at. But I think at this point with FPGA related, it's kind of overkill. I'm just getting a standard cloud Windows server, as I said, 2025 edition. That's good enough for what I want to run, and it's fairly cheap, like $25 a month. So, and everyone's going, why do you use Windows? Well, if I want to use Algorithmic for the poor person version, which is usually everybody outside of institutions, it's only on Windows. But once you get into the higher level accounts, like 500,000 and higher, there are Linux editions that you can use. But if you're under that, forget it. You're only Windows only. It's just the way it is for Algorithmic. I don't know how it works with CQG, but as I said, the data feed monthly is very, very expensive. It's like $500 for CQG versus $140 what I pay with Algorithmic. It's very cheap. Predictors for the next 10 to 20 years on the economy. That's a hard question, because if I came up with an answer today, I think it's going to be radically different a week from now. But generally, I think it's going to get harder and harder to earn cash, where you're going to have to either rely on yourself or live in a commune with other people, and you'll have your talent, and you'll be bartering with everybody. I think we're definitely going there. Depending upon what Elon Musk, we may be all living on the moon or on Mars. I don't know. But from a careers perspective, I think there's going to be a more reliance on self-employment, because there's going to be fewer jobs and fewer careers. Unless you, even if you can get a job or a career, your employer's going to exploit you, and there's going to be like 50 out of 1,000 people waiting to take that job from you. So keep that in mind. So that's what I'm saying, the self-employment. If you want to do trading, great option, and you can cut out all the dependencies, because it's just you in the markets. That's a path I would choose for sure. So let's see. Yeah, I was for a Frere. I noticed that you are in Algorithmic. I'm just asking your honest opinion of it. Nuvi asked, do I use Linux? What type of links are you available to achieve? I prefer Linux. There's always latency in there, but as I said like months ago, latency is not a big factor when it comes to algo trading right now because of your account size. Latency is important when you get into the splitting hair moment. But between Windows and Linux for my style of trading, meaning medium frequency, it doesn't matter what you're on. Because if I'm going to be on Windows and only Windows, the performance in terms of latency kind of don't matter. Because for me, as I said, my time frequency on streaming is with a heartbeat every 5 seconds. So I'm working with streaming data. And as that data comes in, there is no frequency. There is no latency. It's pretty well very close to real time with Algorithmic as it's set up. So there is that to consider. So the latency is not really a factor at this point. As I said, if I'm going to grow an account to 250,000, 500,000, latency will be a factor for sure. But if I decide at some point to go direct market access with Algorithmic, meaning true high frequency trading, oh yeah, latency matters for sure. But for now, I wouldn't kill yourself on the latency front. I would just focus getting a trading thing, something where it can that's your number one goal. And as they say, don't get bogged down with the analysis paralysis because you're trying to split hairs between this Linux distribution and that one. It's a non-factor. And even the Windows versus Linux doesn't really matter. And especially if you choose to go with Algorithmic, Windows is your only option anyways. Language doesn't really matter as well, because I really thought language would matter. But I will say this. When it comes to Algorithmic API between the .NET C# API in Algorithmic versus C++, you can get more useful features that you will not get with any of the other APIs, be it .NET or any of the web-related APIs as well. The C++ one is the leading one for certain features. Now, examples could include what you're watching in the market. There's certain functions that you can ask for to measure aggressiveness on the quotes that are being watched. So there are calls that you can put out there into the Algorithmic API and request that to see the aggressiveness on certain instruments that are watched. You can only do that with C++. But again, that's not a factor. What I would always recommend is get something running and then that's your goal. Once you get comfortable and you get a consistent profit, then you worry about things like that. So nobody respond. I thought you were using, if so, you could do kernel bypass and other modifications for reduced latency. I don't know the last time you might have watched me, if you were in January, February, or sorry, let's say January, up till mid-January, I was all about, high frequency, blah, 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 blah. I got to a point where it didn't matter. And since, let's say approximately since mid-January, I've kind of moved away from that. And I'm now at the point where I'm suggesting, recommending for people. Because the latency is a really minor factor. Just depends upon where you're at. If you already got a big account, when I say big account, like 250,000, 500,000, then yeah, latency you can use, and then you can move into, like I say, a high frequency trading environment on the CME in Aurora with direct market access. When you get to that point, then that's when you start to worry about it. And then you can start using kernel bypass and FPGA and all that fun stuff as well. So, yeah, I don't know what more better response I can give for that. If you guys got questions, let me know. I'm here to answer whatever you got. I know I've been talking a lot about the strategy bot. All I can recommend is you got to join the website and just hang on for all the emails I blast out, sometimes 2-3 a day. If you can hack it, you'll learn on the fly. I don't put up as much videos as I used to, because I'm going to be honest, it takes a lot of time. Not a lot of time, but it just takes a lot of effort when I could be focusing more on trading, research, and get that all up and running. Once I get to that point where it's consistent, then I'll go back to posting more videos and social media stuff. But it's just right now, it's not a priority for me. I just found out I got 6,000 videos on YouTube. So I think that's enough for people to work off of. If you guys got comments and questions, let me know. As I said, this is my favorite part of the thing, of doing all of this. I'll continue doing all of this. I was saying I was going to travel to Panama. That's off. I really wanted to travel and would have been realistically in Dubai now, and you probably know what's going on there. So I'm glad I didn't go. So my next focus is on Asia, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Kuala Lumpur primarily, and then secondary maybe Thailand or Vietnam. I don't know, but that's where my focus is over the short term, in terms of the jaunts, we'll call it. But eventually, I think Dubai will settle down, and yeah, I'll definitely look at that market as well. SP, you should get an agent to go through all your videos and summarize it into a book. I'm actually kind of thinking about that, because people are overwhelmed with what I do, and other people can say the same thing. What I'm looking at doing is probably putting some kind of video, little step-by-step course on that to help people, and just have, when you come to my website, big red button say start here, because everything's changed so much. But I think with what I'm moving to, it's going to be less, we call it less volatile in terms of changes, and it'll be more static over the long run. So I'll probably, once I know that's the case, and I'll probably do this big start here thing and keep it at that, because I have so much content over the last 15 years. People, I'm not gonna lie, get overwhelmed, they get bogged down. So yeah, so I remember SP, I remember finding the channel, and it can be quite overwhelming, especially not being in the field. Would be useful. Yeah, I think it would be. And just tell people, don't worry about anything else. That's irrelevant, because you have to stay on top of the trend. But I think with the, not just AI, but agents are going to be here to stay. And I think with AI agents and tools like Claude Code Desktop, that will shield you all from all that complexity. I can say right now with the prompting, you don't have to do any more hand coding, without a doubt, and just prompt. That's all you got to worry about. And as I said, there's other ways to improve your prompting as well to get better quality output. So that takes away about 90% of the complexities. And the other thing, without needing to do back testing, if you're willing to follow that, as I call the frontier algo trading, that will make life a lot easier too. And I think that'll be here for a long, long time. And ultimately, if we can get a machine, we're just watching what we trade, watching the reports and the performance, and let the thing self-adapt. Yeah, that's the ultimate goal. I mean, that has always been the ultimate goal for a lot of traders in the last 20 years, is to have something where it self-adapts, because the self-adapting means less coding, less changing, less blah, 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 and the thing self-adapts. But in this case with AI, where it's at with agents, we can not just self-adapt to strategies, but market conditions, and what are the particular instruments that are performing, and it self-adapts, as I explained earlier. And that's what I'm more interested in now, is focusing on the workflow and doing, I don't know, 75, 80%, maybe even 90%, all this stuff moving forward. Once you get past all this, 90% it will be all done courtesy of AI. And showing people how to do that, that'd be the ideal way to do it. But you still got to put the work in, because just because you're coming in as a new coder, new trader, you still got to know the fundamentals of everything as well. As I said, if I got questions, let me know. I'm here to help. But what I was going to say is, I've seen examples where these new vibe coders come in, have zero technology knowledge. They can code up using whatever agent to code up the thing, and they get an app working, but then it suddenly conks out. They don't know what to do. And if you're building a livelihood around that, or trying to build revenue from it, and you have clientele and you don't know what to do, I don't know what to tell you. And that's another thing a lot of people are doing now, and they're smart, because they move away from coding. What the new career path is, oh, you having problems with your agent, you having problems with your app, because you vibe coded, hire me and I can help you fix it. I've seen a lot of that lately, and that's a new area. But I think with Claude and how it can, it's so good, like when it generates code, it's pretty well flawless on runtime. I rarely, if ever, get a runtime error or exception. Doesn't happen. So that is most likely a long-term direction we're going in. So this new profession of like an IT guy saying, I'll fix your code for you, those are vanishing over the long run. Just the way it goes. SP comes back, yeah, I had a coworker join, and the only thing she could do is prompt until our AI servers went down for a few days. Well, that's the thing, right? It's like when people go, oh, Bitcoin's amazing. Well, that's all fine and good, but what happens when you run out of like the internet doesn't run. You're only relying on Bluetooth, and that's all local to you, close by. So there is that possibility. So if the AI servers go down, you're screwed. But I mean, how often does that happen? Not very often. And even if it goes down chances are of being down for a long time is very rare, unless we get some asteroid crashing into the planet or something. Those are the only likelihood of where the internet can go down on a mass scale. Or what's been predicted is the masters of the universe, we'll call them, decide, well, we're going to go down with the internet globally. You come back and now you need a license to access all the websites or a certificate. And if you're a bad boy or girl, we're going to cut you off from those websites. And I do know that is a reality because that's how China operates with their great firewall, their great Chinese firewall. That's how they work. And do not be surprised. We could have a blackout for a day, a couple of days, and this new, quote-unquote, new internet comes about. Oh, by the way, we're going to have everybody on certificates, and you're going to have a certificate for this site, this site, this site, or do this or that. And if you're a bad boy or girl, we're going to cut you off. Just like a CBDC, right? Very possible, I think. I think it's a very good chance of that. Yeah, digital ID. I think we already have digital ID. The funny thing is when you look at the UK, they do have a government service. They have kind of like a digital ID service for all their services. So if you're in England, you have your NHS number, and that gives you not just your health, but when we have your social security number, and in Canada we have your social identification number and your health card number, two separate entities. But with the UK, it's kind of unified as one. So if you get employed, they're going to use your NHS number. So they kind of already have it. The digital ID that they have as an app is just for convenience. So it's already there. If any Western country, I think that UK is probably the most advanced in that area. And when I looked at the most popular apps in the UK, guess what? That app is in the top 5. So we're already there. Yep, now they're trying to ban VPNs here. Yeah, and they're trying to make it law as well for VPNs or using Tor. They could already do that as well because they just build out a firewall and just filter out all of those types of services. They could very easily do it. I'm surprised that China kind of still makes them available. I don't know why, but more of that, and I kind of experimented going into the quote-unquote dark web. There's some apps you can get through not just Tor, and through the search engine you can read. This is not a dark web. You can go read New York Times. You can be on Facebook. There's all the CIA, NSA have their own dark web websites. So that's a new area. Another one they're trying to push out is the Ethereum blockchain. Can be used as a web. What do you call it? A web network, we'll call it, on Ethereum blockchain or some blockchain. I mean, that's possible too. And from what I'm reading with Vitalik Buterin, he's trying to move towards that because he doesn't want stable coins like USDC or Tether to be built on the Ethereum blockchain. So he's trying to move away from that in the new future versions of Ethereum and trying to keep it open as much as possible. So if anybody can do it, it'd be like a Vitalik Buterin, because he's the guy who's kind of like running the whole Ethereum blockchain. So next step is AI monitoring for behavior reporting back to the state with TOR or Tor. You can obfuscate all traffic through Azure, etc. They can do that already. What they're proposing to do with the tax authorities are, let's say with the IRS, or in my case, the CRA, the revenue agency, or the tax authorities, what they're going to do is they're going to have a dedicated agent for everybody that files tax. That agent will will be dedicated to you. It will monitor your banking. It will monitor your spending, very similar to a CBDC, and it'll be tied back to the tax authority, and it will know when you step outside of the boundaries, we'll call it, legal boundaries, as well. A great example I can give you, in Canada, we used to, certain provinces, you were able to trade perpetual future contracts in Ontario and Canada and whatnot. Canada now does not allow perpetual futures trading at all in crypto. Why? Because it's unregulated. You can't track it. So now You can still trade perpetual futures, but you got to be outside of the country and go into places like Dubai, Singapore, Malaysia, where you can trade perpetual contracts. Believe me, I think a lot of those countries will catch up. And you're missing out on some of the best trading opportunities through these, as I said, with the stablecoin one for arbitrage, classic example. And why do they regulate it? Because they don't want you to be independently wealthy. One thing I forgot to mention is, I'm sure you heard about in Netherlands, they're now officially going to tax unrealized profit you haven't made through the market. So they're going to tax that regardless. In Canada, what they're doing now is they're going to have you be taxed on your home equity every year, not every month, or sorry, every year. So and it could be as high as 1%. So let's say your property is worth $1 million. You could be paying 10 grand a year on your equity per year. And that's what they're tabling. What does that mean? They're trying to move you away from becoming independently wealthy. And that's going right across the West. That's the new thing I just learned again today. SP says we will have to go to bartering goods or developing internal currencies between the people. Yes, but I do think the governments will, and I should say Western governments will monitor you through that, through CBDC or through a parallel dedicated agent tied back to your tax authority. I think that's 100% going to happen. But the only way to get around that is, again, go to countries that may not have that proposed. And I'm saying in Asia specifically, you will own nothing and be happy. Yeah, it's classic WEF. And remember, we're only close to 4 years away from that. I think it's a lot sooner than we know. But, you know, I see videos on Mongolia or places in Africa. They don't even have the technology for any of this. And I think that's where, if you can relocate, that's probably where you want to go. Places weird as Mongolia, it's only 2 million people, but you know how resource and like supply resource wise at Mongolia, it couldn't be a very, very, very wealthy country with only 2 million people, and it's vast. So these are things I'm like, and again, the frontier market, if you really want to escape it, you're willing to go do it, to really be the farthest away from it. I would be surprised one day you'll see me from Mongolia live or some place like that. And there's tons of places like that throughout South Africa, South America and Africa and whatnot. And I wouldn't be surprised like that. It's just, I don't know, I hate to say it, but I wish I could give better news on that front. And bartering is going to be another thing. I've been bringing up Corsica lately because they don't have a lot of industry. A lot of communities are isolated, and every community is local bartering and local. I produce eggs. I'll exchange my eggs for your beer or something like that. We will see each other in the mountains somewhere. Ha ha ha. Yeah, exactly. I always joke around. If things got really bad, I'd be off to Switzerland and become a herding sheep or something. You never know. It's just we just never know. I think there's going to be a massive backlash against technology. I'm looking at OpenAI, like with the recent news with Anthropic, with what the U.S. military tried to do with the Pentagon. They ban them and dangerous, unreliable supplier. OpenAI steps in and yeah, we'll take that role. And now look what happens. OpenAI's got so many cancellations that they're losing more cancellations than anything. And now they're scared because of that. And yeah, people are very sensitive on stuff like that. I don't blame them, and I'm right behind them on that as well. Yeah, so also not looking good with Palantir. Yeah, I mean, Palantir as well. But again, a lot of these companies are not needed because AI can do it on its own. Anyways, we go talk about that and go down that slippery slope all you want. But truthfully, that's something to consider down the line. You guys got any questions or comments? Let me know. on tonight's topic, or generally trading or investing. Hello, Frank Lynn Gembaji. Sorry if I got the pronunciation. How did you get 12 trading bots? You just joined live? Generally, well, the first place to start is on quantlabsnet.com. Join that email just to see the progress of that, because I blast out pretty well multiple emails on that. Generally, how it works is, from tonight's topic, what I'm doing is using AI, again, high-level, news-driven, using news feeds, generating what I'm about to tell you from this point forward is 100% AI, using that news-driven events, and then be able to feed all those news feeds into a general dashboard, I guess you can call it, or report, and then ask it to generate potential live trading bots from that. And then, as I said, I can get them as many as 30 bots. And now this week I'm testing them over the short run, if it's a full day, and only take the top or most profitable bots, and then put it into a live trading environment. And I can do that every day. I just keep moving profitable bots into the live trading, and in the live trading, if there's certain bots not performing anymore, just take them out and let the newer bots replace those. And I can do that every day. Generally, that's how it works. And then the idea here is, in the long run, with agents, be able to automate that 100%, which I know I can do. And then have a risk manager, everything's all automated, all courtesy of AI in general terms. But as I said, if you want to know, so that's, just join the website. Yeah, thanks for joining, SP. You have a good day. I'm always curious to know where people are reaching me or calling in from, not calling in from, but visiting from. We have some hardcore Europeans. I'll stay up because it's probably 1:30 or whatnot where they're calling in from. So thanks for listening, and there's always the video playback as well after that. So as I said, if you got questions or comments, let me know. Hopefully I've answered your question, Franklin. Big Jenny, I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher your name. But as I said, that's the general way we're going. So we're going to have self-adapting, basically a machine that trades, focusing on futures and options, because okay, cool, thanks. So right now it's focusing on futures and options. I'm thinking down the line, maybe add in equity again with stocks and ETFs. And I only do that because a lot of the AI comes back. If I decide to do an arbitrage, sometimes it will use an ETF as the metric to compare against. So let me think of a good example. Treasury, where you have multiple durations of Treasury contracts you can compare, but usually TLT is one of the metrics that you use, which is obviously a ETF. And then you can sometimes trade the ETF TLT against and arbitrage it against the future contracts that are related around Treasury for different durations. I see more frequently Bitcoin or crypto generally. So let's say if you're focusing on Bitcoin and Ethereum in the futures market, you want to do a classic arbitrage, because you always hear about the exchange differential between the Bitcoin price of another exchange, let's say Binance or Bybit or any of those. You can trade those plus the trade within futures and options as well, namely CME. So those are classic arbitrage I see all the time. So I'm thinking of bringing in equity and specifically ETFs for that, because they're benchmarks, namely really used a lot in crypto, Bitcoin and Ethereum specifically. There's some altcoins you can trade nicely. in the CME now, like XRP, Solana, XLM, which is Stellar, Lubin, Chainlink, and a couple others. They just don't have the volume. But I did come across an interesting strategy where it did short XRP. Didn't last long as an opportunity, but it did pretty good if I traded that for XRP. MXRP was a symbol, so the micro. So there's all that as well. So if you guys got questions, oh wow, we're down to 2 people. Wow, everyone dropped off. Woohoo! Thanks for whoever's watching all this time. Hopefully it'll build back up because I want to stay back on. If you guys got any other questions or comments, I have to say, since I've been doing this, the trolling is pretty well stopped. Thank the Lord. Unless somebody's moderating it, I don't know. I think it's YouTube itself. It's pretty good. It used to get pretty bad for the trolls, but they've been held back pretty well for the last month or so. Thanks for that. Thank you. If you guys got questions or comments, I know we're over an hour and a half now, which is great. See if I can get to 2 hours tonight. I'm looking at doing more demos online, on streams, maybe in Zoom, and blast it out onto the other streaming platforms. But bulk of it's always going to be on YouTube. So there's that. If you guys are out there, let me know if you got comments or questions. A variety of good topics tonight as usual. So what'll happen is this video will go up on YouTube, and then as of, I think it's Saturday, you can expect the new shorts to kick in then for this stream. I have a huge backlog of things that I use as shorts and clips on all the different media out there. So it's interesting, that world. But as I said, if you're interested in learning quant for the free side, two social media platforms I recommend. First is Substack. It's free. Giving tips on that. I'm sure there'll be a clip coming on that, hopefully. Same with LinkedIn. And LinkedIn's cool because with LinkedIn, you get to see the people. Usually I'm finding there are a lot of people that don't mention their employer or even the space they operate in. That's usually a condition of employment with their employer. But there's the occasional person still where you get to see their position and their employer, which is kind of cool. And, as I said, I've been getting some of the bigwigs, the largest asset managers in the world, the trillion plus ones I'm referring to as well. So if you guys got any comments or questions, let me know. Blah, 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 blah. I could go all day, all night. I have to focus on my live trading tonight. I'm not, that's my highest priority right now, is the live trades. Like that's, I gotta do the breakthrough on that. I can't operate any further without live trading because that can only go so far in terms of credibility for what I do. I'm confident it should be, hopefully, not just profitable, but it'll generate alpha, meaning it's gonna beat the general benchmarks like the S&P 500 or the QQQ, which are the standard benchmarks for trading. And if you can beat that, you're doing all right. That's for sure. You guys got comments or questions? Just so everybody knows, I will be increasing my quant analytics 50%. So it's going to go up from 47 to 67 in the next few days. So be aware of that. Just so you know. That's where a lot of this intelligence stuff goes. All my content goes there, which is behind my website, quantlabsnet.com. And I got to keep the lights on and feed the pussycats that I don't have, but you get the idea. Who's out there who's got a question or comment, speak up or don't speak at all for the next week. Let me know. I see a couple of doom scrollers out there just. And for half a second, they're going to do really well in life when they do that, but that's okay. Anybody else got questions or comments? Otherwise, I'm happy at an hour and 3/4. So if you're out there, don't be shy. I like to do contests and give away stuff. We got lots of stuff to give away. I'm actually thinking of paring down some of my services so I can focus on more things. Like I said, my live trading is going to be very important to me. Who's out there? Comment, question, anybody? Yoo-hoo, wake up. Comment, question. I can only talk so much. I've done enough talking about all this stuff. Anybody? I'm gonna say this. Over the long run, if this does work out, I think, don't be surprised one day I may no longer do this. Because I'm finding it kind of taxing. I try to help people, and the way things are rolling out, I think with careers getting chopped left and right, people are going to need to have things like this algo trading, and I want to help. But if this trading thing does pick up independent on my own, I have to ask myself, what am I in the long run doing it for? You know what I mean? Because I can do this independently of anything. My ultimate goal is to have that. And part of it, just like trading, you want to have as few dependencies as possible. In that, I want to help out institutions for sure. That's an awesome goal. But the skepticism in institutions is pretty tough, and the competition and everybody and their dogs trying to get in on this. So, if you guys got questions or comments, let me know. Yeah. So I think I was just saying, the first thing I'll cut is my booking service. So it's so cheap, dude. It's like $17 for 15 minutes or something. But I'm definitely going to cut that. That's the first thing that'll get cut for sure. I'll be less accessible. I do know my worth. So hopefully people see that. We'll see. But I'm thinking about that's the first thing I'll cut. You guys got comments or questions? If not, I'm going to give it 5-10 minutes. If that comes in, I'll probably terminate at 2 hours as well. Yeah, because part of the other thing, you got to remember, I'm competing against AI slop as well. If that's what people want and less human, I don't think over the long run YouTube will get rid of it. As long as people are engaging with it, that's going to grow. And I think there's going to be less interest on wanting to put stuff out there for real. So we'll see. Yeah. But ultimately, if I'm able to get this working in the long run, yeah, that's the direction I'm going in. Or thinking about, I should say. But I'd like to be transparent. SP has just probably dropped off for sure. He was my #1 fan I'm seeing. I'm going to give him something. Anybody else got questions or comments? Maybe I should end it. I've been operating here for at 1:50, coming up to 1 hour and 50 minutes. So I might terminate then unless things pick up in terms of questions and comments. So if there's the horse and buggy people trying to get under my skin, sorry, I don't work. That's all I could say. Yeah, especially the trolls. They're the most laughable out there. Just make sure you don't, over the long run, become what they call a useless eater. You can look that up on the search engine, see what that means. If you become a useless eater, it's not going to be a good thing over the long run. Who's got questions or comments? Okay, so we got 1:48. Hour and 48 minutes. If you got a comment, question, let me know. Maybe I should get into motivation. I'll get people coming in again. So let's see, how can I motivate you? Yeah, I mean, we could come down to a push button society. You push buttons and you get lots of fortune from that, guaranteed, blah, 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 blah. No need, less effort, more reward. Nobody's pumping the heart emoticon on that. Tried that. Not seeing the bump up in there. This is like coming up to the last hour in a bar, and it just quickly thins out. Anybody else out there, if you got a question or comment, I don't care who you are, let's get this machine rolling again. Talking about the stream. Anybody? Comment, question? We're very close to coming up an hour and 50 on this stream. If type up anything you want, give me a letter. Let me know you're out there and you're watching. That's cool. If not, I don't have a problem ending it. But as I said, if you want, just go to quantlabsnet.com. As I said, I'll be raising that price in the quant analytics. Everything's going to go up as I go live trading and things do turn out to be profitable, verifiable. Then yeah, it's a new game for everybody out there, because then we're generating real value. And as I said, I'm already getting, we'll just say, attention from institutions. So that might be the new direction I go. You know what I mean? So we're at 1 hour and 50 minutes of streaming. So if you got a question, a comment, just type it up. I don't care. Just show me something out there, and I'll do my usual going once. I'm official now, going once. Type something up. I don't care. Oh, so you threaten, and the audience starts to grow. So I'll do it going once. If you got something to type up, let me know. Oh, we're back down to where we were. So I'll do it going once. Going twice. No. Going 2.5 as I like to do. Going 3 times. I guess we're done for tonight. So I'll be back. I already have a topic scheduled for 2 weeks ago, or was it last week? Questions to the interactive brokers thing linked at the bottom. I'll take questions as much as I can on that. If not, I'll just keep it generic in general. So if you're new, get it. And that price will go up a lot. As I said before, the AI has valued that at $200, and it's only $30. So that will go up for sure. And as I said, I'll be testing and adding strategies to that will be tested using that environment against interactive brokers, because that's what I'm using. That's going to go up in itself. So we'll leave it at that. One last chance. Anybody want to type something in? I'll wait. A minute. Come on. Let's see if you got some question. People aren't sticking it out. Anyways, I guess not. So thanks for watching. Have a good day wherever you are, man. Day, night, whatever. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.